Are you ready?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready. Hopefully we don't record our deaths in an accident, but yeah.
It's all part of it.
Performance art.
Welcome to the No Budget Filmmaking Podcast, presented by Cinema Summit, a podcast about the art of making films, no matter how small the budget. And now, here are your hosts, Alex Darke and Trevor L. Nelson.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. This is episode 19 of the No Budget Filmmaking Podcast. I'm Alex Darke.
And I am Trevor L. Nelson, and today we're talking about the future of no budget filmmaking. But first,
what are we drinking?
What are we drinking? And you know what? We're not drinking anything except some iced tea because...
Well, I'm drinking a Diet Coke.
Oh, Diet Coke.
Which is bad for you.
Yes.
I know, everyone. I know.
Is it worse than all the booze that we drink when we do this?
I think yes.
Okay.
I think yes. I think it won't make you do worse things.
Okay.
But the act of drinking it itself is worse.
So it is healthier to drink booze than it is to drink Diet Coke, is what you're telling me.
I believe that is actually true.
Well, thank you, doctor. I'm gonna take that to the bank. We are a little special little edition this time. We're doing the podcast as we go to Vegas.
Yeah, we're on a little roadie.
A little roadie. It sounds so dirty somehow.
We just stopped at Barstow.
Okay, so for those who don't know, well, first of all, we're going to Vegas because a couple weeks ago we had Zeph come out for an interview about his movie Trouble. And The Trouble. My apologies, Zeph.
Once Upon a Time in the Bronx.
Once Upon a Time
Full
in the Bronx.
title.
Yep. And he invited us out to Vegas for the world premiere at Action On Film Festival.
Yes.
And we took him up on it.
We're on our way out. It's in Vegas at the Palms.
At the Palms.
Hotel and Casino.
Yep. And it starts at 10 p.m. So we figured, you know what better way to pass the time driving to Vegas from LA than to do our podcast.
Yeah, so we apologize for any unusual noises. You probably hear the car in the background, and the audio quality is not quite up to par.
No.
And I'm just going to preface this by saying this is probably going to be a short episode.
Yeah, probably a little bit shorter, but maybe that's a good thing. People don't want to hear us that long.
Yeah, you probably are like, oh my God, finally. They just decided to actually end it when it should have ended.
I wish we could get stats at what time people stop listening, at what time. If they're just like, okay, 30 minutes in, I'm annoyed with these guys, so I'm just going to move it on.
I know. That is it's interesting about podcasts in general. They don't have very good statistics at all.
Yeah, I know.
Like the analytics and everything is very, very general. And I've looked up like better solutions, and it just doesn't exist.
Yeah, which is shocking that advertisers would still be all in on podcasts. It's like, there's no way to tell that maybe they have these listeners, but maybe they only listen to the first 10 minutes. And then they cut out so your commercial that's at the 15-minute mark doesn't get heard.
Yeah, what's up with that? Weird.
I don't know. But yeah, so we just stopped at Barstow, and for those who have made the road trip from LA to Vegas,
or vice versa, there's it's kind of a tradition that Alex brought me in on, and I think a lot of people will probably do it. But Alex, tell them what the tradition is. The tradition is to stop yourself.
Yeah,
basically is what we did.
Yep.
This afternoon, starve yourself until you get to Barstow, and you stop at one of the original Del Tacos, where the founder of Del Taco still works to this day.
He was not there today.
He wasn't there, but
Ed
every other time we've been there,
yep,
he's basically there because I think he shows up for the lunch rush.
Yeah,
we were there a little later today.
We're usually there for the lunch rush, but at the same time, you can get things at this Del Taco you can't get anywhere else. They have Barstow specials.
They do, and they are delicious.
Oh my gosh, so good. The carnitas burrito, which you can't get anywhere else, delicious.
All right, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, no.
I'm just saying, if you guys are traveling through, give it a try. And try the chicken soft tacos.
Oh man, the chicken soft tacos are probably twice the size of a normal chicken soft taco at Del Taco.
Yep.
And for those who don't know what Del Taco is, think of Taco Bell. I don't know if they're all over the country. Definitely western United States.
Yeah.
So for those across the pond, across the ocean,
it's just a Mexican fast food.
Mexican fast food, but it's delicious and it's the original, and it's a staple on our way to Vegas.
Yep.
So, what is new with us, Alex? What is new?
Well, other than traveling to Vegas, that's a pretty new one. I mean, it's still happening right now, so it's really new.
How new is that if it's happening right now? Wow.
Real new.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we have? What else is new?
We're working on this project that we're going to reveal to you guys sometime in the next month.
Yes.
Who, you know,
Pretty excited about that.
Put a lot of work into it. Hope you guys like it and love it and whatever. Do with it as you may. We also, a friend of ours kind of got us some inside scoop on some intellectual properties that a couple movie studios are wanting to remake.
Yeah, so we're trying to ride that money
wave.
train.
Yeah, ride that money train to, you know,
straight
wealth,
to the bank.
prosperity, and power. So we're looking through the IP collection and seeing what, because my understanding is everything's fair game except the more popular.
The more popular things that are going to be
titles.
taken by like real directors that people have heard of.
Yeah. So, you know, we're just trying to get the bottom of the barrel, scrape it together, see what we can shoot, and pitch to them, and hopefully they give us money to make it, and that'd be pretty fun.
That would be pretty fun.
Yeah. So, anything else new?
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. We're gonna have some interviews coming up with you guys later. We got some people
we got
from
some
like
cool people.
Seed and Spark, Slated.
Yes.
We're also going to get some more independent filmmakers. What about that couple? They're an independent filmmaker? Those two people? I don't know if they're a couple, but...
Who are we talking about?
They emailed us. Oh, no, Instagram messaged us?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an independent film company that produces a lot of horror films.
There you go. Oh, and we love our horror films.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to have some pretty sweet interviews coming up for you guys soon. The interviews seem to kind of hit a little bit more with people because it's more people on the inside of the industry.
Yeah. So we're hoping to kind of ramp that up a little bit more. We got to kind of had to start off by ourselves, you know, do it just the two of us. But and we
you poor people that had to listen to just us.
I know. And we got our remote interview set up, cooking pretty good.
Yeah.
Not hating it.
Nope. So we're going to bring that to you. So I think that'll about do it.
Yeah.
So let's move on to
the topic at hand.
The topic at hand, as we are coming down the mountain, and it is 101 degrees at 6 o'clock. Woo!
At Fort Irwin Road.
Ah, beautiful.
Exit 189.
Coming up on Peggy Sue's.
Oh man.
Diner.
Also, Ghost Town. Are we almost at Calico?
Yeah, Calico. I think Calico is right there.
My God.
Yeah.
We're really chugging.
Yeah. Chugging what? Moving on. Okay, so the future of no-budget filmmaking.
Yeah, where do we see the no-budget filmmakers and the no-budget films in the next couple years landing in the industry?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. A lot of news has come out that could kind of be yay, no-budget and independent film, and nay.
Correct.
We talked a little bit
ago. Like most things. There's pros and there's cons.
Man,
everyone, breaking news.
You are a wordsmith, I must say. I would say like not one piece of news has pros and cons, but a piece of news is a pro, and then another piece of news is a con.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah. So shut up.
So share with us what these pieces of news are.
Well, we talked a while ago about the possibility of studios buying up theaters.
Right, so they're going to have their monopoly again on all the exhibition. So it could potentially stifle the low-budget indie ability to get into theaters.
And I think we talked...
Which, let's be honest, it's not really like a huge platform for indies.
That's
like
true.
no-budget indies anyway.
That's
at
true.
the moment.
And since we last talked about that, Netflix has gotten in the game and is trying to bid... Well, this is weird. They can't officially bid on it yet because the law hasn't been overturned, but they're going to fight Amazon for landmark theaters. So Amazon and Netflix, it's kind of funny that the two that are ready to jump in the quickest are the ones that are not the typical studios.
Yeah.
So that's the nay.
That's the nay. What's the yay?
The yay.
Give me the Kanye.
Sounds like a really bad drug. Yeah, give me some of that yay. Is I would say the rise of like cheap equipment and like the popularity of, or not popularity, but the ability that the cell phone cameras are able to pull out, so that people could technically shoot a movie with just their phone.
Yeah. So the barrier of entry has diminished quite
greatly.
Substantially.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think it's not even like the barrier of entry. It's like the barrier to professional quality stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because like back in the day, you couldn't buy film cameras mostly, A. I mean, and B, if you did buy them, they were like hundreds of thousands of dollars just for one camera.
Yeah.
Not including the lens package, which was also hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then the film itself. I mean, it was all...
It's expensive.
Really, really expensive. Like, there's no way you would have bought it.
I think the definition of independent cinema is a lot different than independent cinema was a while ago. You know, you think about the independent cinema of, like, back in... I'd say in the day, but it was for us, it was back in the day, of, like, Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And, like, Clerks and all that. But that still was film. He did it black and white. You know, he cheated it out a little bit to keep it low cost. But, you know, that was the independent day cinema, which nowadays it's like Tangerine shot on an iPhone and stuff like that. Like, the independent cinema is even cheaper these days.
Yeah, totally. And the idea of no budget becomes kind of like tricky because people own equipment now. So it's like, does that get factored into the budget? You know, because it's like you own this camera equipment and this lighting equipment, and you're probably using it for your gigs or whatever, and doing all that stuff, and you just have access to it. Does the cost of that equipment count as part of the budget, knowing that it's something that you used for something else, or like you didn't, you know, purchase it specifically for this one project, or you're not renting it for the project? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, it's...
So the idea of making like a $2,000 feature, I mean, still is kind of crazy, but like you can do it with that in mind, like the fact that you just have stuff already, and you have $2,000 on top of it to like buy food for people or something. Yeah,
it's kind of funny because back in the day, it was kind of like you wanted to boost up the budget to make it seem like you had access to a lot of money, and nowadays it seems the selling point is to keep it as cheap as possible. Like now, you know, back in the day, they'd be like, well, yeah, I shot this on, a film camera, blah, blah, blah. And even though if the person owned it, they'd be like, yeah, we shot this and it was $150,000. But now I feel that some people would even be like, to kind of sell it more, like if they had a, like, our V35.
Yeah.
If it was, you take into the cost of renting it, let's just say, $10,000 for the shoot. Some people wouldn't even put that into their like budget, because they'll be like, well, I shot this for $20,000.
Yeah, there is something about that. It kind of goes both ways, though. I feel.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Because, especially when all this stuff really first started coming out, I think people hit that point really hard and fast. They were trying to be like, oh, I'm the guys that can make stuff that looks really good for like no money.
Can you imagine what I could do if you gave me a budget?
Yeah. And that never really worked as planned, A.
That's true.
And then B, I feel like now it kind of is, it could go both ways, where maybe you might impress someone with that, but also at the same time, like real films and production companies and studios, they might be interested in that, and we've seen in the past like a couple times where they've sort of picked people up that have done lower budget stuff and handed them like a huge project. But one of their biggest questions, I'm sure, is like, can this person handle like a $20 million budget or a $100 million budget, because it's totally different. I mean, it's two different skills, really. It's almost like, opposite ends. Yeah,
because it's kind of funny, because you have like, you have someone like Colin Trevorrow, who did his feature, Safety Not Guaranteed, which I think was under 10.
Yeah.
And then they handed him Star Wars. Oh no, they handed him Jurassic World, and people weren't all that impressed. They had,
Really? I thought they were all right. I mean,
they were okay, but then the bigger...
It wasn't like Fantastic Four guy, I think, was the one that...
I think that was Josh Trank.
Yeah.
So that's another one. He did Chronicle, which was a low budget, and then they handed him Fantastic Four, and he was just a nightmare on the set, is what they said. And it just didn't... It was a mess. But then you have like people like James Gunn, who did,
But he kind of did a more traditional path, I would say.
Yeah, but it still was low budget. I mean, what was it, Slither or Splinter?
Slither. But that was it wasn't like super, the effects and stuff, and that was a decent budget.
Yeah. You know what, it's almost like these days, they do want to, who was it, Tony Scott.
Yeah.
No, it's not
Tony Scott, R.I.P.
R.I.P. No, it wasn't Tony Scott. It was his brother. Ridley Scott.
Okay.
I thought Tony Scott said it before he passed away, but no, Ridley Scott said it. He had said, like all these studios hand these multi-million-dollar projects to people with no experience. Give me a script, and while my fee to direct is high, it'll come in on time and under budget.
Right.
And I think that's still what a lot of people are hoping for. I think what I'm noticing a lot more, though, is that studios want to see, especially with these big blockbusters, that directors can handle not just a big budget, but like a big VFX shoot. So,
right.
Because I know somebody who was brought in to do the Guardians of the Galaxy, brought in for a pitch meeting for the Guardians of the Galaxy before James Gunn was hired, and he was not, he was brought in because of his ability with VFX.
Right.
And he had never worked with a budget that size or anywhere near that. Jon Favreau, before he was given Iron Man, they gave him Zathura, the quote unquote sequel to Jumanji, to see how he could do with big VFX heavy movies. So it's hard to say if it's like budget or. Oh, go ahead. Who's
the director of San Andreas and Rampage?
Man, I forget. But yeah,
I think that guy, his very first movie, I think that he did was a movie. It was like I can't remember what it was, but it was like dogs that are spies or something.
Okay.
And the dogs' faces are animated and stuff, and it's like it was kind of like a family action movie.
Chihuahua, Beverly Hills Chihuahua or
something. Kind of, and it was like, it wasn't a very big budget. I think it was a couple million.
Yeah.
And then he went on to do San Andreas, I think, and then...
Super heavy.
Super VFX heavy. And now he's kind of like a guy that does like VFX movies because of that.
He's the new... Who was the guy who did Day After Tomorrow and...
oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I mean...
So I do think it does become like a proving ground or like a contest. It's like who can handle the VFX stuff that we can send our big tentpole things to later. Yeah,
because I mean, Colin Trevorrow, Safety Not Guaranteed, it wasn't effects heavy at all until the very end.
Yeah.
So I think, it's
and then like Gareth Edwards.
Yeah, Gareth Edwards, there you go, yeah. I mean, from Monsters to Star Wars.
Yeah.
And Godzilla to Star Wars.
Exactly.
I think no budget filmmaking in terms of like keeping your budget on paper as low as possible is not helpful anymore, because a lot of these movies that you're going to go for that are funded by studios are huge budgets. That tends to be what studios do now. They do the super large budget movies, and they want to know that you know how to work with a $100 million budget. And if you're saying, oh, well, I did this short for $10,000 because I owned all the equipment, so I'm not putting that budget, it may actually hurt you.
Yeah, and also, it's almost like the name of the game right now is to, like, whatever the budget may be, like, the budget's kind of irrelevant, but it's to make something that looks and feels like it could be a studio film.
Yeah.
You can make a short that's like 3 minutes and have it be, $2,000 or $100,000. And it wouldn't matter if it was like a really high concept, flashy, kind of polished.
Yeah, the directing was good, the editing was good. It was
VFX,
overall,
type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of what people are looking for. In terms of, like, again, the idea of someone like being impressed enough to like pull you up to a bigger project. I mean, obviously there's a billion ways to sort of try to burst into the scene. You could go the festival route, and that's like the total opposite. It's like you don't need the VFX or the polished or anything like that. It's more about the story and like pulling on the heartstrings and getting people like emotionally involved or something.
Yeah.
Or making a film on a topic that is topical.
Yeah, I mean, I think what people have to keep in mind that is like, even when it comes to no budget filmmaking, it's all about the story still, and I think it's more important the story because you may not have the access to the VFX or the heavy, the good looking cameras. I think did you ever see Tangerine?
No.
You know, I didn't see it, and I think it had going for it. It was a a population, a transgendered main character that was kind of untapped.
Yes.
As well as being shot on the iPhone. But the story was still good.
It was like a hook.
Yeah, it was a hook.
So it had a niche.
Yeah.
And a hook. So that's a double whammy right
double
there.
Double whams. To get people in, and then it just turned out it was a very good story.
Yep.
And that got him the Florida Project. So, I mean, I definitely think that no-budget filmmaking is now one of those things where everyone can kind of make it look really nice with a good camera, and everyone can kind of do some basic VFX that aren't, like, crazy.
Yeah.
But look good. So you really got to... I think the future of no-budget filmmaking is an interesting story. Even if it's... Yeah. I mean, it's easy to say that because it's always kind of been about the story. Everyone says, worry about the story first. It's all about what's written on the page.
Sure, but it was... I mean, everyone always says that, but that's not true.
That's
like,
true.
If you look back in the day, again, in, like, the heyday of like, direct-to-DVD or direct-to-video, it's like the story was, like, the least important, actually. Like, in that particular realm of movie.
I mean, as we're going through these IPs of old movies that this company put out, that has never been more true than when I'm watching that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it literally had. I mean, I think it still probably does in a certain way, but like, it has more to do with who's in it.
Yeah.
The production company behind it and stuff like that is going to sell to the foreign markets and stuff.
So what do you think, like, the person who's going to, the future no-budget filmmaker, what are they trying to do with their first feature? Are they trying their no-budget feature? Are they trying to get it sold, or are they just trying to get the next gig?
So I think the bigger idea, and we kind of touched on this with Jason Brubaker a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like the real key in the future is going to be building an audience of your own.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the case now, and it's kind of been weird because there hasn't really been I don't think necessarily a filmmaker that this has worked for yet too much. I mean, you got like Freddie Wong, but like,
I'm going back to like Kevin Smith. He has like a cult following by people who watch anything Kevin Smith puts out.
Yes, and I don't think anyone has done that in sort of this digital age yet, or this era where anyone can make a movie. And so I think if we can like figure that out,
yeah,
that's kind of where it's going, because then you have your like following that you can go to and keep going to and say, hey, I'm making this new thing, or like, hey, I'm thinking about making a movie. What do you guys think about this idea? And then they could say, oh man, I love that. I can't wait to see that. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to make that. And so it's like, ahead of time that it's something that people want to see, and like the people in your audience want to see.
Get people invested.
I think it's more of like filmmakers as a brand almost, or as the star, quote unquote, that people want to see. Now, I don't know how mainstream that could ever be, because I feel like, the idea of really liking and being attached to specific directors is pretty niche to filmmakers and like film buffs.
Yeah, I find it. You're right. I don't think there is somebody out there that is like, for me personally, that I'm like, I'm gonna go see everything this person makes because of what. I mean, but the ones that are like that for me are the old school ones, like Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah.
Kevin
like,
Smith.
Like for me, I really like the original Predator. Love that movie. This new one, I don't think looks terribly good.
But you'll see it because of Shane Black.
I mean, Shane Black, I'm just such a big fan of, so I know it's probably going to be really fun.
Now, do you think maybe like a Seth Rogen has a brand that people will go see?
Yes.
I think that...
And Judd Apatow,
Seth Rogen.
Yes. Yeah. But see, again, like, I feel like we kind of live in this little bubble where I don't know if that's true outside of our bubble.
That's true. That's a good point.
I think it probably is for Seth Rogen because he's like the face and the star. But I don't know if we went to, like South Dakota and we're like, hey, what do you think about Judd Apatow if they'd be like, oh man, I love Judd Apatow. I don't know.
You know what I think it would be? Is especially outside of our bubble, because Seth Rogen is the face, it's like, oh yeah, I love Seth Rogen stuff. But if it was Judd Apatow, they'd be like, I don't know, I haven't seen much of his stuff. And then you start naming the things that he's done.
Yeah, no,
people would be like, oh, I saw that. That was Judd Apatow. The people behind the camera don't know. And that being said, you probably like, someone could be like, outside of our bubble could be like, oh, I love Seth Rogen. And you're like, well, you know, he produced Preacher. And they're like, what? Really? Because his name isn't plastered all over it and his face isn't on it.
Right.
So I think, you know...
So Seth is a little bit different because he produces and writes things and then is also in them. So it's a little
different. But other than that, I mean, let's be honest though, do you think outside of the filmmaking bubble it is possible to get a following if you're behind the camera only?
I don't know, because again, I think yes it is, but only in specific other genres and niches or niches, depending on how you decide to say it.
Niche.
But for example, like a Wes Craven,
or
like a Jason Blum. I feel like, well, actually, in like the horror world, it's almost like a niche that I feel like would be aware of that type of thing. They're like, oh man, a new Jason Blum movie or like a Blumhouse picture. Like, yeah, I'm on board. Or like, oh man, Wes Craven's coming back to do something. I'm going to be all over that or whatever.
I think there's not many genres that have that big of a kind of like following or cult following of like the heroes as is horror.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think even in the other kind of similar genres like sci-fi, fantasy...
Maybe Peter Jackson in that genre?
Maybe, or, I mean, Guillermo del Toro. Maybe.
Yeah, Del Toro is pretty big up there.
Yeah. So I think it's possible, but again, it's like borderline horror.
Yeah.
It's like fantasy horror.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think in those, in like sci-fi and fantasy, it's almost like the properties themselves are the things that people follow, you know, like Lord of the Rings and...
Yeah, like people are following Peter Jackson.
Hellboy.
Because... I mean, in all honesty, did they follow him to King Kong? Not really.
No.
But they came back to it because then he did The Hobbit. So it's like, it's hard. I mean, I think it's going to be very hard for no-budget filmmakers to come up with, like, to get a cult following audience.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but...
It's not impossible.
Not impossible. And nowadays, it's getting to the point where I feel like the puzzle can be solved, you know?
How do you think?
I'm just thinking, like, with the ability to gain so much exposure as just, like, an individual.
Yeah.
Through social media and advertising and stuff like that. If you're, like, really strategic and you know, you actually try to do it in a strategic way.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be smart about it, though.
I think you could do it.
And you got to put out good stuff. That's the thing.
That's the key no matter what, I think.
Yeah.
That's the key to this whole game. I mean, if you put out good stuff, theoretically, you will eventually be found.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah. It's like if you consistently put out good stuff, like, year after year, someone's going to find it and be like, oh, man, it's really good.
I mean, you're right. I think the new generation no-budget filmmaker, if they're wanting to stay in the independent realm, I mean, you know, it's like the Duplass brothers. They consistently put out good stuff, and I will watch anything they do or anything Mark Duplass is in because I like them.
Yeah.
And they did that without freaking, you know, doing any, like, before social media and all that. And so I think with social media, you have a better chance. There's a lower fail rate with social media if you're active. You know what? I think it's day after tomorrow. A friend of mine's brother did and it was a big movie, and so I don't know why. Maybe they didn't charge. I thought they charged like $5, but they did something where you could have your name at the end of the DVD, like at the end of the credit rolls. It would just be like your name, like, and everyone else who had done the same thing. I thought it was $5. Maybe it wasn't, but maybe it was just free, just to build, like, people buying the DVD.
Yeah.
But like it's stuff like that. People love to be invested in a film.
Yeah, there's that really weird company that I keep seeing pop up on my
Disney
Facebook feed. Legion M. Have you heard of this?
No, I don't think so.
It's...
What have you been searching that popped up?
No, it just shows up because it's sponsored. It's like an ad that pops up. It's like, hey, like, be in the film industry, invest in movies with like real celebrities and stuff. And I think the first Legion M movie was that one with Anne Hathaway where she's like, Colossus or whatever. Or
that was a Legion M?
I think so.
All right, that movie wasn't bad.
And so it's almost like a weird equity crowdfunding campaign.
Where instead of like swag, you can actually get some stuff back from the movie.
Yeah, you actually like earn profits and stuff.
That's actually not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. I'm sure it's very complicated.
Oh, I'm sure.
In terms of how it's structured and everything.
But I mean, it's just like when we were looking for investors at $7,500 a pop, it's just like that, except you're bringing it down to like, okay, $700, or they probably had a tier that you had to hit to get any percentage back.
Yeah.
And so it's probably like, I guess they raised it though.
They must have, and I think it's still it's ongoing. I don't know how that works in terms of maybe they just do it for every film. It's like,
yeah, maybe, or
a new one,
maybe it does
a new fund. I don't know.
Dilutes the shares. I don't know.
I gotta look into it a little bit more, but it's interesting. It's interesting.
And I mean, I think if you start building a brand as a filmmaker, then you can start talking about, as you guys have heard before, we're not big fans of crowdfunding, but if you do have a brand, you can maybe go into that realm a little easier. Because you may have, rather than people just being invested in terms of, I'm helping choose who's going to star in it, or I'm helping to choose what the script is about. Now it's like, I'm giving my money and I get a part of it. Like, that's what Michael Rusley said on CinemaSummit.com in his interview about crowdfunding. It's like all these people were fans of 5-second film, and they were, they were used to getting the films for free. But when it was time to get something bigger, they were already such fans that they're like, "Yeah, I'll give you $20."
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, I believe you guys do good work, so here you go.
Yeah, and I do think it's possible. It's just like it's a tough puzzle.
It always has been,
that I've been wanting to crack for a while. But I'm trying to think of like how one could do it without becoming like a
sleazy
YouTube star or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if someone's a director and doesn't want to like get out there and start making YouTube videos every day to like promote themselves.
Well, I think you can do YouTube videos, but like a little differently. Like not your YouTube videos where it's direct to camera or really shitty, but like think of like that fan film for Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Granted, he had a bunch of stars because he was connected, but that just gained popularity because hey, I made this. It's on YouTube, but it looked really good.
Yes, and that's again goes back to the idea of just like making something good.
Yeah.
But I'm talking more about the idea of building up an audience and a brand for your, like a following for your stuff. Yeah. Your ongoing stuff, so that
I think you still need to put something out so that they know what they're becoming a fan of.
Right, but would you be able to build out a brand just on putting out like products?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I think if you become part of the filmmaking community in the sense of like you're out there like talking to people, and not even promoting your stuff, but just like, hey guys, what do you think about this? Or like somebody asks a question on a forum, you answer. They start getting like one of us, and they kind of start following you. Like, hey man, I really appreciate it. It's the old like, follow me, I'll follow you back on Instagram. Yeah. If you support what I'm doing, I'll support what you're doing, and then we go from there.
Yeah, it's true.
It's tough, and it's hard. It's one of those things where if studios start buying theaters, you would think that it immediately makes it tougher to, get your stuff out there. But necessity breeds innovation. So I think if people start seeing that theaters are, only showing Netflix movies, or Disney owning whatever, not AMC because that was sold a little bit ago. Disney owns Edwards Theaters, and only showing Disney movies. People will start clamoring for something that's not just a blockbuster.
And I'd love to see the actual numbers behind some of these indie films. Like I want to see. I want to see numbers for and like statistics for who the audience is, like who's going to see these movies, like at the Laemmle,
Yeah.
But not in LA.
LA's a hard sample size.
It's weird. 'Cause obviously, I think there's way more people in LA willing to go see indie movies. But
definitely.
I know my wife's parents love going to see indie movies in Portland. So it's like, I want to see what that audience is like and what the demographics are and like what movies they're tending to go see and stuff like that.
It's it's funny for me. My parents like to see independent movies. They also like to see a little bit. They're not like the superhero type movies.
Yeah.
They like to go see True Grit and stuff like that. But they go to this place in Minnesota called The Heights, and it reminds me of a not so fancy version of the movie theaters, the movie palaces downtown. It's an old theater, probably 60 years old. They still do silent movies every once in a while where they have a big organ up front. My parents like going to that theater rather than like the big megaplex, just because one screen, and they love going there. And I just don't know about. We both use examples of people who are over 60 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know outside.
I know, because like some of my friends that are our age, their mentality about it is like, well, why would I spend $14 to go see a movie when I could watch it or something else like it, or I could see it later from the comfort of my home, where I'm just like eating on the couch.
Exactly.
And that's a hard thing to argue with because,
I think no budget filmmakers have to look to the fact that theaters may not be the end all be all anymore. Of like, granted, maybe the end all be all is you get hired on to a $100 million project that gets into the theater. But
for your indie project,
your indie project, it may not be it. I mean, they even say like, this is going to be weird to bring this in as a reference, but like, all these fast casual restaurants like Applebee's and TGI Fridays, are closing because
of the bottomless apps.
That's what's bringing me back. Let me tell you, woo! Talk about my bottom and those bottomless apps.
That's the only thing that's saving them.
Yeah, I think what's happening is that our generation is just not going out as much. They're staying at home, like you said, and they're with Postmates and Uber Eats, they're bringing food in, so they can still technically eat out, but they can watch a movie at home.
Right.
So I think a no budget filmmaker needs to look at it and be like, do I really need to get into a theater to kind of validate my movie? And it may just be something as simple as like, no, I just would like to get in a theater in a film festival to at least project it once on a big screen.
But then the question becomes, if you subscribe to that idea and say, okay, I'm going to go for the streaming VOD, the transactional VOD like Amazon or whatever, like that kind of stuff, how do you
get people to buy it?
Yeah. How do you get people to notice your movie in the sea of other movies that are out there? You know what I mean? This is going to be the biggest, hardest thing we could ever pull off, is to look under the hood of Netflix. But I wonder how many of these Netflix movies, I'm sure they have the statistics of these Netflix indie movies that they buy, how many are like watched because it's at like how many are specifically searched for, and how many are like watched because it's like, whoa, we think you might like this.
or very similar to this
suggestions
one.
is
Suggestions.
where it's at.
Yeah.
So how do you crack the suggestion algorithm?
I mean, you need a big sample group, and have them all watch different movies and kind of like have them fill out a form that says, when you watch this kind of movie in this genre, what movies popped up after? Asking if we think you'd like this one too.
Yeah, but how do you get it in there? Like when you actually put your thing on Amazon, how do you get it served to the right people? I guess it's just like you do it through tags, and you hope that you have to like push. Maybe it's the type of thing where you like push it, advertise it, and then the algorithm learns.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, oh, similar people like it, and so then we'll push it out to other people that fill that criteria.
I have to think. I wonder if because Amazon and Netflix have skin in the game. If, as much as it goes against my personal beliefs, if you just let the algorithm handle it. Because, they want to make money, so they're not going to bury it. So just know that they want to make money from your project, so let them figure out the best way, like what to connect it to.
Yeah, it's almost like, so back in the day, there was almost like a Reddit hack.
How to get it out?
How to get it onto like the front page of Reddit.
Yeah.
How to get your post. And all you had to do was like within the first 15 minutes or something, get X number of people to upvote it and comment.
And it was hot.
And the Reddit algorithm would say, yes, that's popular, and then it would put it out there.
I'm sure people made like programs that would have like 600 usernames and would just upload something. Yep.
Exactly. And I wonder if it's a similar thing.
You have enough people
like hit it within the first however many hours or days or whatever of it being up there, for it to be like, this is hot, I'm gonna put this in popular or whatever, in the popular section.
Yeah, because I don't, I get the emails from like Netflix that say, hey, this is coming out, and this next season of something you watch is coming out. But there's a lot of stuff that gets no fanfare when it comes out, at all from Netflix.
Yeah. And
it's just one of those things where you kind of have to find it, and maybe that's where you go in and you pay some film review sites, and you pay /film to talk about it, or you have some kind of hook like Tangerine, where it starts in the filmmaking community of like, hey, check this out, because this is kind of how they did it, it's kind of unique.
Yeah.
And it grows from there.
Totally. I remember I was in the mood for like an edgy, kind of like stylish indie film, just because I like to watch them every once in a while.
I do too, but we're probably few and far between.
Yeah. Gets me all pumped for making that type of thing.
Yep.
But I couldn't find anything, actually just like in the apps. I kind of scrolled through whatever. And so I had to like Google something to watch,
Uh-huh.
And then I looked it up, and it was on Amazon. But there was like no way I would have been served it, I don't think,
Okay.
And so I wonder, it's just like, how do you find that community of people that are looking for that? Let them know about your movie so that they can search for it in the Amazon app or whatever.
I think you got to use the Facebook. You got to use the Facebook groups for the specific genre it is. We had talked about this earlier about like kind of doing a kind of, I would say, non-official survey of like these groups that fall into what you're writing, and see if people would like it, and if what you're writing is something that would interest the people of that group.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing happens as you go in there and like, you go to a horror fans Facebook group and say, hey guys, I made this horror film. I think it's pretty cool, pretty interesting. I hope you guys check it out. Here's the trailer. Then you get like 4 or 5 people who are like diehard horror fans, and they get hooked on the trailer, they buy it, and then you just build on that word of mouth.
Yeah, or theoretically, you could, if you were making the movie,
excuse me,
you would be doing that the whole time. So like as you're developing it, and you'd say, hey, here's the concept, are you interested? And get people to sort of like sign up somehow to let them know when it's like ready, or like updates and stuff.
Yeah.
And you do that along the whole process, and eventually, hopefully, ideally, you'd have you'd end up with this sort of like email list of hundreds or thousands of people.
Yeah.
That you would then be able to say, hey, okay, it's up now. And so then it's like, if you go start playing this right now, like, help us out. And if you go start playing this today, I want to see if it'll help bring it to the popular section or whatever. So, like, support my movie by just going and hitting play right now.
That's a pretty good idea.
I mean,
I think the one thing that, like, a lot of people do, and they, it's funny when people discover this, is, another way you could just kind of get a little more publicity is to hire an up-and-coming actor who's got some other roles. Because what you'll see is that these actors will come out with a movie, a very popular movie, and then this movie from 2 years earlier that they star in is suddenly released.
Right.
And so you build off of their popularity. I think that's why some of our friends are leaning towards trying to get YouTube stars to star in movies, because they already have the built-in audience, and then they can hopefully convert those people who are fans of the actor, if you can call YouTube stars actors, and get them to become fans of theirs.
Right.
My question for you, we saw a movie that a commercial director made, and it took place in an electronics store. I'm not going to name any names.
Sure.
What was the plan? I don't know if you had talked to him about this or anything. What was his plan with it? Was it a festival thing and hopefully get it sold? Or... Because that was super low budget.
I didn't talk to him. It wasn't like super low, but it was pretty low budget.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to him about what his plan was with it. But I would assume it was about the same as most people's plans in terms of like having a successful festival run and then distribution, I think. Was probably. You like classic distribution.
Yeah, because the only star, I only knew one name in it.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah.
Or there might have been a couple.
Maybe.
I don't remember.
But then I saw the main guy in a bunch of T-Mobile commercials. I was like, oh, well, that's good. That may help out the movie.
I don't know if that would help out.
That would, or like, more the fact that, the kid's getting more gigs and he's growing up.
Sure.
Yeah. It's tough, though. It's one of those things where there's no code to follow because it's such the Wild West now.
Yeah, and it's true. I do feel like eventually the solution will present itself, and everyone's going to jump on it, oversaturate the market as usual, and then it's going to be ruined eventually again.
Yeah, probably. Everything nice. We can't have anything nice. Everything's ruined.
We have that to look forward to.
Yay! Hopefully we'll be on to our big projects before that happens.
Yes, hopefully.
But yeah, so, I mean, it's a tricky situation because it's always changing. It's fluid. It's hard to tell what is going to be the next path to go on.
Right.
But I do think we are leaning towards, especially as things get oversaturated, people are not going to be able to find your film unless you have a following yourself.
Yeah. Unless
you have a bunch of people that like what you do and are your champions and champion you out there, and they're your voice.
Yeah.
And they're saying like, hey, check out this guy's work. This is unsolicited. I just really like this guy's work. Go check it out.
Yeah. Or if you happen to be hitting upon like a small group or like a medium-sized group that is ready for some type of film content within their group, you know what I mean? Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, but there are ways to crack it. It's just there's no definite answer because it all depends on the product you have, the project you have, and who you are.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it always comes down to you got to make a good movie. You know, in all respects.
Yeah, and the hope is if you make a good movie, it'll just find its audience on its own.
Yep.
Word of mouth. Somebody will buy it, or it'll get going around the festival circuit. If it does well at the festival circuit, you're still guaranteed that somebody's going to buy it, especially because they think they can get it for cheap.
Yeah.
And
I think moral of the story is go out and start making movies.
Yeah.
Because
you never know what could happen with your low budget. It could
never know what could happen with your low budget, but also it'll just make your next movie better.
Exactly.
And as you keep getting better and better, people will start to notice, no matter what your strategery happens to be.
Strategery, yeah. And as you build up your own film library, people will take you what you have a little bit more serious. Because they're like, oh, this guy's done a lot, so he must be able to He must be pretty good if he could keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I think that'll do it. I don't know. I got nothing else. I'm getting hoarse just from talking so much. My apologies. This is a heavy Trevor episode.
Should we try to do like what's cool?
Oh yeah, we can do a what's cool.
Like Ken's Steakhouse dressings.
We just passed Ken's Steakhouse dressing. Ken's Steakhouse. If you'd like to sponsor us, we don't eat many salads, but we do eat a lot of steaks. So we'll just put your salad dressing next to the steaks as we eat them because it's from a steakhouse. So Ken's, come on down.
It'll be delicious.
Join the No Budget Filmmaking Podcast family.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can think of off the top of your head that you've seen lately? What were we talking about the other day? We were like, did you put that on a... Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Let's see
Sense of discovery.
Let's see if I can remember what it's called.
Okay, well, while you try and figure it out, we had talked about NVIDIA's new cards that are coming out, and they just announced them. I think they're going to start at $500 a pop, which is kind of expensive, especially because the new architecture that they put into it, the Turing architecture, is not utilized yet by software. It's one of those things where the technology is there before the software is there. Kind of like CUDA. When CUDA first came out from NVIDIA, it wasn't really able to be utilized because software didn't know how to use it. And then Premiere started utilizing CUDA and all the 3ds Max and Maya and all that, and so then it really took off. And so right now, you're still going to have a faster graphics card for video editing and VFX work, but just wait, because this new architecture, I think, is the future of all NVIDIA cards. So wait until, Adobe and Blackmagic with DaVinci get their hands on it and can utilize it, because then I think you're going to see render speeds and being able to edit 4K all the way, they swear, all the way up to 8K is like super easy, super fast, and that's exciting, and I love that. Again, $500 may seem like a lot of money if that's the low end of the cards, but man, is it important to have a really good graphics card, especially when you're working with higher resolutions. What's also cool... That
doesn't even seem that low to me, though.
I guess
it's because I'm used to seeing, researching the very, top
like
tier.
The Titans and all that?
Yeah, the Titans.
Yep, I'm with you. What's not cool is the temperature is now 110.
We know that because we're passing the world's largest thermometer type display.
Yeah, type display, I'll give you that. It is the largest thermometer, but it only shows a digital display, so can we really call it a monitor or a glorified display pole?
Yeah, it's a display pole in Baker, the glorious city of Baker.
With the Mad Greek
and Alien Jerky.
But it is 6:45 on a Thursday, and it is 110 degrees, and we're not even to Vegas yet. We're not even to the real desert yet, so that's not cool.
All right, I found it.
All right, hit it.
It's the Matthews Max Menace Arm.
That's right, you saucy bastard. That is what... this thing is so beautiful.
So Menace Arms, for those of you who don't know, it's like the traditional Menace Arm kit is something you can get. It's for speed rail, or I think they might even make one for, I don't know, like wood beams.
Oh, okay.
But
scaffolding.
You usually use speed rail, and it's kind of like three pieces. You have a front that has a light mount on it, and then the center part with the ear that you stick into a big grip head on a stand, and then the back you put a counterweight on, and a sandbag or something. You hang something off it. It's basically so you can boom a big light over a set, or arm it in a set really deep, without having to triple up on C-stand arms, which I'm sure all of you no-budget people have done before.
No.
But the Max Menace Arm is sort of Matthew's high-tech, really cool Menace Arm. And it's all contained in one stand. And it has wheels on it that folds up. It's definitely not something that's super portable. You definitely would need a truck of some kind to transport it.
Super handy.
Super handy. It cranks. It has a crank in it, and it'll hold 75-pound light fixtures.
And when we say crank, there is video of this thing being on the ground floor and putting a light on the second floor above.
Yeah.
This thing gets some length.
17.5 feet tall. You can hold 75 pounds.
Ooh.
But if you're at 7 to 10 feet, or 8 feet, you can hold 175 pounds of light on there.
You know what it looks like? have you ever seen those things that they use to lift like engines right out of the car?
Yeah, that is what it looks like.
It looks exactly like that. So if you don't feel like going to the show notes for this one and looking at the link, it looks like those things that they use, those cranes that they kind of use to pull out engines from the car. And if you don't know what that is, why don't you just go to the link and check it out rather than look up what the thing that lifts an engine out of the car is.
But one thing I think is interesting about this, it's definitely not cheap. It's a little over $6,500 for one. So it's definitely not a no-budget tool. I don't know what they rent for. But what I think is kind of cool about them, you could probably, in a lower budget scenario, replace the need for like a Condor.
Ooh.
You know? Because you always see the Condors with like the big HMIs on them and stuff. And if you were doing that, and the Condors are tricky because you got to get like a driver, or you got to have like a truck tow it out there.
Yeah.
And then you got to move it into position.
Yep.
Do the whole deal. Not really like a low budget thing, but this is like just a stand. Anyone can operate it. It requires like no tools, I believe. It's just like almost like cotter pins and like,
man, that's beautiful.
Whatever. And you can put a light up pretty high. I mean, 17.5 feet is not as tall as a Condor, but
no, but I mean, yeah.
If you're shooting like in a second story of a building, you can just shine some
blow out the
HMIs
windows
through.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a bad deal.
How much do you think like a big, like an what are they, M16s?
An M18?
M18. How much do you think those weigh, the head?
Oh, man. I have no idea, but not even close to 75 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. You could get that REM18, which is bread and butter and just super nice to blow out a window and put that on this
thing. Probably do an M40. Which is they're like 4K or whatever.
Don't you tell me. Yeah,
all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, I do remember though. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, and it's self-leveling. The head self-levels when you crank it up, which is kind of cool.
Oh man,
all
just keeps getting better.
Stuff.
Let's just take our extra $6,500 and buy one.
I know, right? Oh, they also make a Mini Max version, which is much smaller, and it's for sort of like arming out things like Kino flow lights and stuff like that. Let's see how high that one can go. 9 feet.
It's still not bad.
It's not bad. Oh. Yeah, 9 feet.
Not bad at all.
Not bad. And that one's only $1,400. And it can support up to 20 pounds.
That's not bad.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, super cool.
So those things, check them out. Yep, Matthew's Menace Arms, Max Menace Arms, and Mini Max Menace Arms.
Well, if we survive Vegas, we will put it on the show notes for this episode. I can't think of anything else that I saw that was like, oh, you know what? You know, it just came out. Just announced today, DJI's new Mavics.
That's right, the Mavic 2.
And the Mavic 2 Pro.
Oh.
No, it's the It's the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom.
Ah.
So one has a Hasselblad lens on it.
Nice.
That is 4K. The other one has a 2K optical zoom, 4K digital zoom lens.
Ooh.
And they are same thing. You can fold them up, and they can. They're about the size of an Italian sandwich.
Yeah.
New kind of battery.
We like to compare everything to food.
Yeah.
So like our big camera is like about the size of a ham.
I'd say
like a large country ham,
or maybe a Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is about the size of an Italian sub with sopressata and some salame. And so they got two versions, and what they have now is like this like increased number of sensors around it on the outside of it, so that it kind of doesn't crash. It kind of is self-aware that it's going to go towards something.
That's cool.
And it will actually like make, as it's recording and flying, it will make a 3D map of what's ahead of it and kind of notice that it's a tree in front of it and go around it if it's following someone.
Interesting.
Which is cool.
I wonder if it can know, if it's smart enough to know like if a tree is coming and the camera's pointing like in a certain direction, if it knows which side of the tree to go on. If it can analyze the tree and around. Well, just saying like if the camera's pointing right and the tree is coming straight at it, would it know to go to the right of the tree instead of going to the left?
make adjustments based on camera positioning.
Yeah, so as to not have the tree block the shot.
I don't know. We should look into that. Let's go buy one.
All right.
Yeah, cool. We got the $6,500 one and then the $2,500.
Perfect.
We'll
do both.
Yeah, $9K, whatever.
Try to crash him.
Yeah. Nothing like no budget filmmaking, like talking about spending $9,000 on 2 pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'll do it.
Yeah, that'll be about do it. Thanks for joining us on this episode of No Budget Filmmaking. Remember, you can get the show notes at nobudgetfilmmaking.com/episode. What are we on?
19.
Episode 19.
And don't forget to hop on over to iTunes and subscribe to our podcast. And while you're there, give us a 5-star rating if you feel so inclined, and leave us a review.
And make sure you follow us on Facebook and like us on Instagram at Cinema Summit. And we will see you guys next time. Probably not in a car.
Yeah, hopefully not in a car.
Yeah, later, guys.
Later.